She is the most insane female character in anime history, and she's widely recognized by countless fans as the strongest woman. For the sake of revenge, she didn't hesitate to sacrifice an arm and several fingers. Single-handedly, she decimated an entire armed military unit. Her name is Roberta, once the top assassin in the Revolutionary Army's hands. During one mission gone wrong, she went on the run. She found refuge with the Lovelace family, a South American mafia household. The Lovelaces took her in and hid her in their home, disguised as a maid. To repay the kindness of the Lovelace family, Roberta stayed in the estate, becoming a simple maid. She thought she had finally escaped the bloodshed and could live in peace from now on. But then, one day, a sudden explosion changed everything. The Lovelace patriarch was assassinated. At the funeral, she watched young Master Garcia weep uncontrollably, and that beast, long dormant within her, bared its fangs once more. But Garcia didn't want her to take revenge. To Garcia, Roberta had become family. He didn't want her to throw her life away over vengeance. Roberta promised him with words, but vanished without a trace the very next day. A few days later, bodies began turning up by the river. Those 5 men were the very ones who assassinated Lovelace. Inside a remote cabin, Roberta was torturing one of them for information. Under excruciating pain, the man finally confessed. The true mastermind was a high-ranking officer in the M Nation military. Meanwhile, in a bar full of gang members, a maid named Edna appeared before the crowd. Edna told everyone that she was the head maid under Roberta and had been sent by young Master Garcia to invite the Black Lagoon crew to a meeting at a hotel. One reckless man tried to sneak attack Edna from behind, but the next second, he paid the price in blood. His gang immediately drew their guns and surrounded Edna. Reve, sitting off to the side, quietly smashed a bottle on the floor, and in that moment, tension in the bar reached a boiling point. Edna's combat skills were absolutely insane. The gangsters didn't stand a chance. But just then, a new group arrived outside the bar. They opened fire with heavy machine guns, spraying bullets into the building. Whether the enemies died or not was unclear, but they sure managed to kill a bunch of their own. Edna, unfazed, pulled a grenade launcher from under her skirt, fired a single shot, and obliterated the attackers outside. Afterward, Edna brought Reve and the others to the hotel. There, Garcia revealed his true purpose. He wanted to hire the Black Lagoon crew to find Roberta and bring her home safely, but Dutch from Black Lagoon refused outright, because Roberta is a crazy woman willing to confront the military, and they weren't looking to stir up that kind of trouble. But Rock stood silently, deep in thought. In the end, he took on the job under his own name. Meanwhile, the ruined bar welcomed a terrifying visitor. It was Roberta. She asked the bartender where she could get her hands on war gear. Then, she downed stimulants by the handful, chugged alcohol like water, to keep herself in a hyperactive state for revenge. She began taking enormous doses of stimulants every day, but the drug's side effects started warping her mind. Even so, she could still wield a heavy sniper rifle with one hand, turning enemies into bloody pulp. A squad of fully armed soldiers tried to flank her from behind, but ran into 2 more insane women instead. Blood spilled. The killing continued. Every time Roberta pulled the trigger, someone died. Then a rugged man appeared. The two immediately engaged in brutal combat, but shockingly Roberta couldn't beat him. The man only got fiercer. A few punches later, he had Roberta pinned to the table. Then, seeing her curvaceous body, the man's thoughts turned vile. At that moment, Garcia arrived with Rock and walked in on the horrific scene. Garcia remembered Roberta's once gentle smile. His heart ached like it was being sliced open. Roberta told the man, as a hunting dog, there's only one person in this world who could put a collar on her, and that person was her one and only Master Garcia. But she didn't realize Garcia was standing right outside the door, listening. Then Roberta smashed the man's head and repeatedly. Blood gushed everywhere, and just then Garcia stepped in front of her, shouting at her to stop. Roberta didn't want Garcia to see her like this. She broke down on the spot, screaming and curling herself up into a ball, begging Garcia not to look at her. Garcia, overwhelmed by horror, fainted on the spot. By now, Roberta's constant drug use had completely shattered her mental state. She believed the Garcia in front of her was just a hallucination, that the real Garcia was still waiting for her back home. Then Roberta raised her gun and aimed it at Garcia, but just then, a military unit suddenly stormed in. Under the overwhelming firepower, Roberta was forced to flee in a panic. Meanwhile, Garcia was seen by the soldiers as just an innocent kid caught in a crossfire. Colonel Simon told Garcia he would personally ensure his safety, but Garcia knew the man standing in front of him was the one who had murdered his father. He was also the one who turned Roberta into this madwoman. At the same time, members of the Black Lagoon crew ran into Roberta, but by now, Roberta could no longer tell friend from foe. Her entire being had plunged into a state of insanity. She was like a wild beast, and no one dared stand in her way, even knowing Roberta had lost her mind. Edna still gathered her courage and ran out. She stood in front of Roberta, trying to take her home, but it was already too late. Edna collapsed to the ground, covering her mouth and crying uncontrollably, because she knew Roberta was gone. Now, all that was left was a woman consumed by vengeance. Her opponent is a well-equipped military unit, and even though Roberta was incredibly powerful on her own, there was only one ending for her death. To save Roberta, Rock seemed to be brewing a plan. By now, the entire city had been thrown into chaos by Roberta and the M-Country military. This chaos even forced the two major local mafia groups into the conflict. Their leaders were Chong and Balalaika. Balalaika's goal was clear: eliminate Roberta. But all of this was already part of Rock's plan, because he believed Roberta would never allow herself to die before killing Colonel Simon. Still, Balalaika's involvement would slow Roberta down, giving the M-Country military a chance to escape the city. Rock then called the Black Lagoon crew. He asked Dutch to help extract the M-Country forces from the city. Dutch didn't want to get involved, but he agreed anyway. Under Rock's plan, Dutch led his crew to the Mekong River to escort the M-Country military to a place beyond the reach of law. That place was the Golden Triangle. Meanwhile, at the airport, Roberta also boarded a flight bound for Thailand. This was all part of Rock's plan. He wanted Roberta and the M-Country military to face off in a final, all-out battle on a land blooming with poppies. With Roberta and the M-Country forces gone, the city of Sin finally returned to its former peace. Because of that, Balalaika also decided to stop hunting Roberta. Rock may have successfully resolved one crisis, but his even crazier plan was just getting started. He knew that if Roberta were to be saved, Garcia was the key, so he sought out Garcia and told him something. After hearing Rock's words, Garcia immediately jumped into the river, but it wasn't to end his life. It was to clear his mind, because Garcia knew this was a gamble, a mad gamble orchestrated by Rock himself. As Roberta's master, he had to drag her out of this abyss of darkness, so no matter what Rock asked him to do, he was willing. Under Rock's plan, Garcia arranged a private meeting with Colonel Simon. No one knew what the two of them discussed, but soon after, they reached an agreement. Simon gathered his troops and told them that once they disembarked, they'd be going to war with Roberta once again. And so, the all-or-nothing gamble Rock had orchestrated finally reached its peak. Deep in the jungle at night, the soldiers moved cautiously, because they knew that woman, more feral than any beast, was hiding somewhere nearby. Even with night vision gear, they couldn't locate Roberta, because she had already started moving. Under the cover of darkness, she slipped through the trees undetected. Hanging from a branch, she silently eliminated any soldier who got too close. Simon immediately ordered everyone to ditch their night vision and put on face shields, preparing for close combat. Roberta tore through the jungle like a rabid hound gone berserk. Whenever she saw an opening, she would strike from the shadows with deadly precision. But she wasn't using bullets, she was firing steel needles. Roberta had hidden dozens, maybe hundreds, all throughout the jungle, and they were her ammunition. Using a smoothbore shotgun, She launched the steel needles with terrifying force. The soldiers' bulletproof vests? Completely useless now. They had no idea where Roberta would strike from next. Every time she attacked, she'd vanish back into the poppy fields, lying in wait for the next ambush. But then, she accidentally triggered a nearby bomb. Her position was immediately exposed. Simon took aim and fired, landing a clean shot to her thigh. But Roberta didn't flinch. She got right back up and kept moving. The massive dose of stimulants in her system had completely numbed her to pain, and the wound only made her angrier. That's when she realized some of her fingers had been severed. She barely even registered it. Fixing a bayonet to her weapon, she charged back into the carnage. Screams echoed through the jungle. Roberta picked up a fallen radio and sent a chilling message. This slaughter would not stop. Her laughter sounded like it came straight from the depths of hell, and it struck fear into every soldier's heart. One soldier tried to sneak up behind her, but Roberta took him out without even trying. She had gone completely insane, like a wounded animal that would kill, even if it meant dying in the process. But then, her radio crackled to life. It was Garcia. He told Roberta to come to a certain place. He would be waiting for her there. Morning came. Roberta, covered in wounds, appeared before Garcia just as promised, but her mind was fractured. She couldn't tell whether this Garcia was real or just another illusion, but none of that mattered anymore. All she wanted was to kill Simon, to finish her revenge, and then return home to the house filled with blooming flowers. But at that moment, Garcia suddenly pulled out a gun and shot Simon. Roberta watched in disbelief, and her madness deepened. She refused to believe that the kind-hearted Garcia could kill, so she convinced herself the Garcia standing before her was just a hallucination. Garcia raised the gun again, but this time, he pointed it at Roberta. He told her, "If you believe in me, then the bullet I fire won't hurt you, and all this pain can end here and now." Then he pulled the trigger, but Roberta wasn't hurt.
Roberta, ほら、君はまだ生きてるよ。確かに僕の銃で撃たれたはずなのに。
In that instant, Garcia leaned in and kissed her. Roberta was stunned, completely frozen by the sudden gesture. Then, Simon, who had been killed, suddenly stood up. It turned out, Garcia's gun was loaded with blanks. Simon had only been knocked unconscious. Roberta was still ready to finish him off, but Garcia held her back. He told her, "Simon's been shot. That means, in a way, he's already died once, and so have we. There are no survivors left here. All that remains is sin. The burden you carry, I'll share it with you. From now on, let me be your crutch. I'll help carry you forward every step of the way."